Share.
And we're live, Brett.
All right, Tommy. I'm unfortunately like 2 seconds behind you.
So, what's up, guys? Welcome to a special edition of Quarantine Cocktails with my good friend, Mr. Brett Morash.
Glad to be here, Tommy.
Brett, what's your exact title? A retired, what's your name?
So I'm my military retired title is Lieutenant Commander, U.S. Navy retired. So
Lieutenant Commander, U.S. Navy retired.
Correct.
But you have a very new title. Gracious for
I do. I'm pretty excited.
You can turn it off.
Yeah. Technology, Tommy.
Gotta love them. Gotta love them.
So I am executive director. You better put that away.
Gotcha.
Executive director of Racing for Heroes, a nonprofit that is based out of Alton, Virginia, which is where Virginia International Raceway is. Although I work from up here in New York, so it's a national nonprofit, and we help veterans through advocacy, community building, through like chapters and various military kind of friendly areas or veteran areas around the country. And then we got our start through our founder, Mike Evok, who is CEO of RFH Tactical, which does training for all sorts of organizations around the country. And
awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Any relation to Return of the Jedi?
No, Mike might be a Jedi Master. He's the man. He's the man. He's a former Green Beret, so he doesn't tell me everything he's done.
Green Berets.
He's
real badasses.
They are.
They
are. But he is the nicest guy. He's gonna be mad I said that, but he is super duper. So
awesome. And
yeah.
I understand that he has a relationship with these fun guys at Springfield Distillery.
Yeah, so Springfield Distillery is one of our sponsors down in Virginia. They are in Halifax County, Virginia, in fact, and they made this fantastic whiskey, and I got to have a taste of it the other day. I was like, "This is amazing! I'm gonna show Tommy Moriello this. Like, how can I not?" And so, as you know, I brought it up, and of course, the people out there don't know this yet, but brought it up, and I was like, "Hey, what could we do with this? Like, this is amazing." Because I pride myself on my drinks, but I know you pride yourself.
You have a pretty good home bar though.
I'm good. I'm good, and I have a portable bar that comes out on occasion. That's like in a big, huge case that you have to like strap on, but it's like for emergencies only.
I love it.
So
that's my everyday carry.
Yeah. Oh, and
that little portable bar is my.
Before I forget, Springfield Distillery has been wonderful. They did change a lot of their production to make hand sanitizer at the beginning of the COVID-19. Right on with quarantine cocktails. So we're super proud of them. And they're going to be donating us a bunch more hand sanitizer as well. In fact, I'll be bringing some of it up here to New York, and I'll be donating it to like people like first responders who need it, like New Rochelle PD or whoever else needs it. So please email me. I'll bring up as much as I can in my forerunner when I get back from next week's exciting event. So,
and speaking of making things, the next women's heavyweight champion, Miss Aileen Morash.
Oh yeah,
she created. Aileen is now training at Champs Boxing Club with us.
Yep.
She's getting in there, man. She's throwing some bombs, training Larry Barnes, former world champ as well.
Yep. And I'm avoiding Aileen when she's not happy mode.
You don't poke the bear because she's turning over her punches.
Yeah.
She can crack, man.
And she's
got to be careful.
Well, she's got a heavy bag downstairs now. So
the heavy bag's beautiful.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah. Thank you.
Down. Worked a few minutes the other day.
Yeah.
It was awesome. But you put her down as the producer of our show today.
She is the producer. She was the one that came up with this whole thing. In fact, Aileen went and while I was out racing today with my son, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Aileen made this fig puree.
Legit homemade fig puree. I'm very, very excited. It smells lovely. Can't believe she left the seeds in. Just kidding. She called me and said, "Should I leave the seeds out?"
How about the Mets? Come on, Tom. I got to go home after this.
I had to do it. She called me up frantically. She's like, "Let's get the seeds out." And I was like,
"No, that's good."
I set that one up perfectly. So, and also, Kelly.
Kelly down at Springfield Distillery.
Yes.
So she was lovely. She sent us up a recipe for this. So
we're gonna make their fig fashion because there's nothing better to go with honey than fig.
Wait, so how did you set up the shaker?
So I set up the shaker right now.
Because Aline's doing this at
nothing.
home right
Okay.
now.
So there's absolutely nothing in it right now, right? So it's just completely bare.
Okay.
I'm starting out with the fig puree.
Okay.
So we're going to go, it says 3 ounces of the fig puree. So we're going to put 2 in there and then 1 more.
Okay.
I'm very excited to hear it. So you will know more about the spirit than I do, but I know that it's a honey flavored whiskey.
Right.
Correct.
Yep.
And it is very much whiskey. It's got some heat to it. It's
absolutely
delicious.
No, it's like what you would expect from Halifax County. I love it. I tried their bourbon that they have, and I put it in my Manhattans when I get home. I didn't have one before here. I obviously want to make the palate. Well,
you should have.
No, well, but listen, what do you do after racing? You have cocktails with Tommy Moriello. Like,
exactly.
Clearly.
You also can't say you've been drinking all day if you don't start.
True. Start at noon. That way it's a full day.
And we're going to do 1.5 ounces of the lovely Springfield Distillery honey whiskey.
Now, are you going to eyeball this like they did like in Top Gun or something like that?
I
know you meant.
I will sing She's Lost That Loving Feeling.
No, that's all right. A little karaoke.
Yeah. And I mean, we have to do that, right? We have a Navy man with us.
Right.
So.
It's a fleet sailor thing.
Is that what your naval experience was like when you went to Navy school?
I love
Top Gun being like that.
yeah, it is. People used to ask me, was like just like that. I'm like, yeah, it is absolutely all the time.
That's what we do all the time.
All the time.
So so it's 1.5 ounces of the honey.
Okay.
And it is 3 ounces of the fig.
Okay.
So we're gonna go ahead and give that a little shakeroo.
And what type of ice do you use, Tommy? You like the big one, little one?
I'm using the big ice cubes for
us, yeah, right.
Drinks, but in here, it's a little more thicker than what you would get like at the grocery store, what you would put inside like the regular thing. So Cocktail Kingdom, one of my favorite tools ever.
Okay.
So little block ice cubes in there.
Oh, look at that. Okay. Because I have ones that look like Titanic and icebergs, and so I make that up at home.
I normally have my Star Wars ice cubes.
Oh, I love it.
I have my Death Star one, but
okay.
I haven't put the mold in. I honestly can't find it. I think it's buried somewhere in that new closet.
I should have brought my hand grenade mold. That would have been even better. So.
That's on brand for you.
Yeah, it is absolutely on brand. Oh, look at that. Okay, all right. Oh, so you strain it. So Aline leaving the seeds in is not a problem.
Exactly.
Aline, did you hear that? Tommy was messing with me. So when I get home, that's Tommy not being a friend.
It was completely necessary. I knew she wanted to do it. So, and then we have Roxy coming on in with Ashley. What's up, girls?
No, it's okay.
So there we are. And we're going to top that off with a little bit of ginger ale.
Okay.
And that is the Fig Fashion.
The Fig Fashion, okay. I think we might need to rename it, though.
Room.
Let's see how good it is. What do you think?
I really think that it does need a new name. Fig Fashion sounds a little bland, maybe even a little boring. What would you name it?
I would name. Well, I think we should try it first, then we'll decide. How's that? I don't want to.
Well, I'm gonna make myself a little different one with Wyoming.
Oh, right.
I was very excited to try the fig puree. It made me think. By all means, get involved. So I made you yours first.
That is good. Not to sound all NPR like Tommy, you make the greatest drinks. Really? No, that's awesome. It's like sweet, but it's got the fig taste. No aftertaste at all. The whiskey is fantastic. I think in honor of Racing for Heroes, I think maybe we should name it after Mike, because it's kind of like sweet, but if you're not careful, it'll crush you. So I think we're gonna call it the Evoc, and I'm gonna call my friends at Springfield Distillery and see if we can rename it something more machismo. Like the Green Berets would have this drink afterward. And think about Warnoff's or Evoc, in fond, sweeping terms.
It's a good way to do
it. It is. It's a good way.
Like
so, cheers, Mike, if you're watching out there.
I'm going to do a little sour myself.
Okay.
So I'm going to do 3/4 of lemon juice for a little bit of simple. I'm going to put a 1/2 ounce of Eileen's lovely fig concoction.
A little different, right?
Just a little different.
Did you put simple syrup in? Was that what I
I
saw?
put a touch of simple in.
Okay.
Yeah, just for the love of the game.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I think it would use it with the Wyoming.
And then lovely Wyoming small batch whiskey. So gotta love me some Wyoming.
And
So
Tommy,
3/4 of an ounce of that. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say I couldn't help but see you have a nautical ship in a bottle tattoo.
Yes.
So
I do.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I've seen lots of nautical tattoos in my career.
So I love the ship in a bottle. That's my little. I got my mom on here, and I got my niece on here too with their roses. Those are the colors that
that's
they
nice.
picked out. And the message in the bottle is also because it's personal to you.
Yeah.
So no one knows what it is, right?
Right.
It's my message in the bottle.
Right.
My sales are going up. They're always going, but it's mine.
That's
It pertains
nice.
to me, so I keep it on there.
I love it.
And I got my Valkyrie right underneath it for Ashley. But
Gotcha.
yeah, man, I love that stuff.
All right.
It's,
Well,
it's
cheers.
solid.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
way
did I
ahead.
put the whiskey in there?
No, I don't think
icing.
so.
That's why
I messed you up. I messed you up.
You threw me on and off.
Well, I was seeing how good you really were. If you can
Yeah.
remember that stuff. What are friends for, Tommy? You know.
Gotta put it on the spot, man. I knew I should do that fig joke.
Oh,
Here we
all right.
are. Nice. Melts quite a bit. So I got my little sour over here.
Okay.
And we'll call it. What's the name of your? Is there a name to the car that you guys have for your stock car? The picture that we put on the flyer?
Oh, I don't know what the name of that particular car is, so I'm remiss. I'm sure someone's going to text me at some point here. So, but if they do,
that's the name of mine.
It's the white. Yeah. Cheers,
man.
Salute.
Cheers. Normally garnishes with some figs, but
That's nice. Oh yeah, that'd be good too.
there's that.
Outstanding. That's going to go down way too
You
easy.
want to try that one?
Yeah.
We'll do the COVID thing and we'll change.
Well, that's
the,
almost like in Princess Bride when they keep switching the drinks.
Yeah. You do the right thing. Just pour it over here. There we go.
Oh, I like the sour. Oh, I love the sour.
That's fun. I like what the ginger does to the fig and the
Yeah.
honey. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's good. Cheers.
man. Salute.
Cheers. Thank you.
So we know what you're doing with Races for Heroes, but how'd you get into this? Where have you always loved the sea? Have you always loved being on boats? Where'd you start off with?
So one of those stories where when I was 5 years old, my grandfather brought me to Mass Maritime Academy up in Cape Cod Canal. So you know where it is on the Cape. And this was in 1976 or so. So long time ago, Tommy.
Right on.
Yeah, a long time ago. And I remember getting a tour from this cadet, and it was wintertime, and he had this peak on with the collar popped up and like the black watch cap.
All right.
And he gave me a tour, and I remember being 5 years old, going like, "That is the coolest dude I've ever met in my life." I'm like, I want to be that guy. And I think it was actually probably a freshman, knowing what I know now. But he inspired me. That's where I went for my undergrad, and then I graduated in '93. And I really had a love for the Navy, so I said, I'll get a little experience instead of going directly into the Merchant Marine. And I decided to do that, and ended up on my first ship, the USS Harlan County.
How about that for a fun fact of a name, huh?
It is a fun fact. So most of the LSTs, which I was on 1196, and they started with number 1 in World War II. They named them after counties. So like, I'm not saying they were running out of county names when they got to Harlan County, but like, it was the only ship ever named after Harlan County. And I've been to Harlan. I loved it. I really enjoyed the community there, and just great folks. And I know this is sacrilege up here in New York, but some of the best pizza I've ever had is in Harlan County, Kentucky.
All right.
It's
not until I try it, but I'm going to go all in.
All right.
I'm going to go the nuts. Pretty sure I fucked the shred on that one. But
fair, sir.
I'm sure it's good. You all right in there? All right. Heard a loud boom from the other room.
Gravity's working.
Yeah. So is that what led you to the Navy?
Yeah. So that's how I ended up in the Navy. And initially, I was like, I really just want to do 4 years, get some experience, get out. Because my next ship was like an oil tanker. It was AOE. I was damage control on her. And eventually became navigator. I was kind of dual hatted for a little while. And I was in charge of the fire department, which was like one of the funnest jobs you could ever have. Okay. It was just amazing. And then really, frankly, it just a personal note, the Bonhomme Richard had the fire out in San Diego this week. And having been involved in a shipyard fire before, super harrowing, and people, the best in people come out, when they really kind of rise to the occasion. So really kind of cheers to all those folks out there fighting that fire. Thankfully, no one killed. I know there's about 60 folks injured, but really, I just a fire at sea is never a good thing. So anyway, so
fire anywhere is never a good thing.
No,
so
no, it was a season.
Worse, though.
Well, because every bit of water you put in the people tank, you have to get off eventually. So it's a little different than civilian firefighting. So
shout out to them, man.
Yeah,
that's crazy. And I mean, so in history, there's a history of football in your family as well, right? So back from
soccer.
Okay.
Soccer.
Yeah,
the football.
Yes,
right.
So I saw the you have helmets in the downstairs as well.
Oh yeah, so my father-in-law Hank Margada, who served in the Army, by the way, and he was for those of you who know, he was Brown Boot Army back like when they had M1 Garands and BARs and stuff like that.
That ping off an M1 Garand is the coolest.
Yeah, with the M Glock comes out, I just I love it too. It's amazing. But Hank was a star football player at Iona Prep. In fact, we're so amazed by Hank that what we've done is we actually have donated to get the naming rights for the field for this past year in Hank's honor for the football. Cool. Yeah, we're just super excited. Hank, he's since passed away, but he was the best. Love that guy. But after 20 years, all winning seasons at Iona Prep, went to go work for Rydell Sports. And that was just amazing. I knew more about helmets than I ever thought I would.
They had a lot of kids not getting concussions.
They had a lot of kids not getting concussions, and I was impressed. I mean, Rydell went through a lot of effort to make sure that was right, with accelerometers and things like that. And some of the helmets.
I always wore a Rydell helmet in high school and college and Pop Warner. I always wore a Rydell helmet. Yeah,
so the Evolution was the model that in 43 something was the one just before that. It was like a number series, but the Evolution was the last one that I remember Hank had. So those are the ones you saw down cellar.
Super cool.
So yeah.
So I bring that up because I know you didn't play football. You played soccer. You're a goalie.
I was a goalie. I was my parents, and I'm hopeful my mom's not listening, would not let me use my body shape in the way it was designed. So I ended up having to play soccer in Massachusetts instead of football, which I probably would have been better off. But I was so slow, I ended up being goalie after a time. The upside of that was when I was in the Navy, most foreign navies have soccer or football, everywhere else in the world. So we'd pull into port, we'd actually play games against the local teams.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was great. So had some amazing stories, just like we played in Palermo, Sicily. And then afterward, we played against the Marines, and the Navy team got wiped out. It was terrible. But we ended up, all of us, when we had dinner near the stadium, and the actual, just so happened that was the bar that like the soccer team from Palermo, Sicily, it was their bar. And they walked in and they paid for everything for us.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and we got back to the ship really, really late that night. So it was just, we got to hang out with Palermo soccer team, so our football.
Not many people say that.
No, it was just super bizarre Navy story. So
I love it. That's what we're doing.
Listen, I mean,
that's what people.
Human interest stories.
But with that, I mean, with the background of football, is why I bring it up.
Yeah.
The Massachusetts Maritime Academy.
Yep.
Not the MMA in the cage.
No. Completely different.
Their mission statement is to instill honor, responsibility, discipline, and leadership.
Yep.
Football, on all accounts, kind of does that, and that pretty much had to get set up for the first stage of your education, because I know that there were many. And it was in there.
No, and I think that there are things that happen in everyone's life where you start off as kind of like in a followership role. So like at Mass Maritime, when I was a freshman cadet, you're learning how to like operate as part of a team in the way they want you to.
Now, when you say cadet, is it a military school?
Yeah, it was a military school.
Okay.
Yeah, I got my head shaved.
So now
oh no, it still is. They have some civilian students now, but I got to be honest, I don't know what the numbers are at Mass Maritime as far as like the regiment versus the civilian students. Although I believe the civilian students are all like basically day students. They come in, they leave, they don't stay on campus.
Got it.
So,
and what's the qualifications to get into a school like that?
Well, back then you could go to jail or Mass Maritime.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The Alumni Association not gonna. I think a generation before me it was kind of like that. No, it was it was a Mass State college. I think that the entry requirements then were actually I think a lot looser than now. The school is 4 times as large student body as I was there. When I was there, we only had 2 degrees paths you could do. It was marine engineering, and marine transportation, so deck officers.
Okay.
I went there to be an engineer, but I got seasick on my first day in the engine room, and I was like, enough of this.
That's crazy to hear. That's a fun fact that I never.
Yeah,
thought
no, like I got seasick, and that's why I didn't become a marine engineer.
I smell the salt coming off of this flag.
It is.
I say that right now.
Yeah,
this guy was even on the ocean today. So.
No, in fact, this flag was on the ocean today. So we had a regatta against Huguenot Yacht Club for City Island Yacht Club, where Henry, my son, sails, and Julia is a counselor there and was on the chase boat with us. But we flew the Racing for Heroes flag. It's the
super fun.
Well, it's the only 0 horsepower racing that Racing for Heroes does is boat. It's basically laser sailboats. So it was a lot of fun. Yep, and so it's covered with salt, and then so we brought it back. So I thought it would look amazing in the background.
Yeah, it's a good look.
It is.
It molds with the ambiance of it, so to speak. But that's super fun, man. And with that, you've had when you were studying out there, what is a marine transportation? You got your degree in marine transportation. So,
I think there's probably a real technical definition, but I'll give you sort of like the Brett version of it.
All right.
It really was designed to make you as a competent watch officer on the bridge of a merchant cargo ship, and including like loading the ship, like whether it be like a dry cargo, like containers you see on the road.
Yep.
Sort of like that interface between the shore side and the water side, and then sort of like the business of going to sea. Because as you can imagine, like there's international regulations that are there. In fact, the students today, like they have, I think, way harder than I did. I mean, we walked up uphill both ways, of course. But I think that the regulations have gotten pretty stiff that they have to deal with. So that was it. Had to do celestial navigation, like learning to navigate by the stars.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was neat. I actually have my own sextant at home.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's kind of cool. And
is that where you learned how to flip SUVs over? When you were
No, I did. That was a Racing for Heroes.
Okay.
Yeah, and at Racing for Heroes headquarters, it's co-located there is RFH Tactical, which does tactical training for what I refer to as military organizations, kind of like snake eater type people, like that sort of thing, or federal marshals. They have an incredible array of training they do there. But the first day I walked in, there was an Isuzu Trooper like on its side, and they were using 2 Land Cruisers with tow straps to write it correctly. And they purposely the instructors had knocked it over, and they were training these folks like how to use 4x4s to write the vehicle, and that was a lot of fun. So
Brett's sending me pictures from where he's at, and I'm just like, wow. I mean, I thought I had a cool job. I got to go wrestle alligators. I got to go run around the country music festivals and whatnot. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
It's right up there.
Like that. So that's pretty awesome.
Well, we have an event coming up next week. I think so. We have an event coming up, Gunning with Green Berets. It will be at our headquarters. We'll have COVID-19 restrictions, so make sure people social distance probably a little further than we are right now. But
we were tested.
we were testing. This kills all the COVID. But we're having some of our Green Beret veterans are going to be showing people how to fire and let them fire. For a donation, 50 cal machine gun, Russian PKM, AK-47.
And where are the headquarters?
It's called Alton, Virginia, so near Danville. If you're looking for what the city is, and it's Virginia International Raceway is sort of the major landmark, and that is a road course similar like Watkins Glen for most people here, or Lime Rock. And then around it is all of the Racing for Heroes tactical training grounds, including off-road tracks. 1,000-meter sniper range.
Coolest things ever.
No, it's like amazing. Like I'm blown away every time I go there. I'm like, this is the best job ever.
How are you able to go there and utilize these? Like, is it strictly for veterans, or is the public able to?
Not for this event. Yeah, for sure. It's this event is for the public. So, like for example, I'm taking Henry with me, sort of like his fresh air fund. He's on the boat, but like this for real. And it's an opportunity for like you to, in my case, like I was a weapons officer in the fleet, and I got to use these things just kind of as a matter of using the job. But now I get to go with my son and be like, see how amazing the 50 cal really is. It's like amazing. And, that's going to be a lot of fun. And then, regular normal folks can go there, see what we're all about, see the programming side of what we do. I mean, we, while we are kind of forward facing is the racing, that's people driving in our honor. And then all of the donations we get, 100% goes to our programming, and it's everything from like wellness programs to like a vitamin program to help veterans get off of things like the array of medicines that the VA might give them, kind of help them walk it back. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy chamber. In fact, this particular event all of those donations will go to the hyperbaric oxygen therapy chamber, which has been amazing. You probably see like celebrities, like football players, speaking about football, who get banged up and they go in the oxygen therapy, and then over the course of a couple of weeks, they recover that much faster. Stem cell therapy
That's what
stuff. So yeah,
Daniel Bryan, the pro wrestler, did. He said he would never wrestle again. He was doing that stuff, and now he's good to go.
Yeah, these are like amazing things, and I think the programs that we're looking at are really about people performance, and like trying to get people to live their best selves. So someone who's like injured veteran, trying to get them back to where they can be, so they can live fulfilling lives, and I think that's super important. And then we also have, like I said, we're in the process right now of developing kind of a chapter model so that we have chapters all around the country that can have like that sense of camaraderie around motorsports. I was joking, like if we had one in the Bronx, there'd probably be guys driving WRXs. Yeah. We hear them on the Bronx River Parkway at 2 a.m. right now. But if it was up here, like maybe we'd have like folks driving Porsches and they'd go up to Lime Rock on the weekend. So I think these chapters we'll see how they kind of form, but like I think that's super exciting. I think it has that sense of community. We'll probably have to get jackets.
Yeah. And where did Racing for Heroes start? How long have they been operating for? And what was the beginning of the brand?
Yeah, so it's a legal nonprofit. It's been since 2013, but it really came out of Mike's experience where he had transitioned from the military as a Green Beret, retired, similar to myself. He served a full career, and then got out. And then as sort of catharsis for him, he started racing. And he was racing, and Mike, I apologize, Outlaws, I believe, was the type of cars you're driving, but Mike was driving outlaw cars and things like that. And then kind of the Racing for Heroes thing developed in somewhat parallel to the RFH Tactical, the for-profit side of kind of what goes on down in Virginia, as well as the training they do all around the country. And then, and that's where sort of the RFH nonprofit side got to. And then, right now we're in the process of trying to go to kind of what I like to say is the kind of the 2.0 version of that, and kind of expand and see what we can do to like really harness that love of motorsports, that love of camaraderie, that is so needed, and help veterans with like everything from like one of our programs is education, employment, trying to get veterans to go from the track, if you will, or in the transition to get employment, and we have relationships with things like Mahindra. RFH Tactical hires our veterans to come through, and that's even better in my mind because you have that sort of support system built in with RFH Tactical where everyone there is really a veteran, and you kind of have that sense of community that may be gone when you leave the service.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and now I've gotten called out by a few people as well for doing the push-ups for veterans. Raising awareness, but obviously, guys like you are doing a lot more than push-ups to help.
I did my 21 days, 21.
Excellent.
So I did. And
I still owe a start to it. I'm sorry, but I will get it going. I did it once like 2 years ago as well. But how could they go out and support you guys? How can they support Racing for Heroes?
So obviously, we would be very happy if anyone took a look at what our programming is. If it's of interest to you, maybe give me a call. My phone, it's on our website, or email us at info@racingforheroes.org. And then we can tell you a little bit more. We have programs, and we're always looking to kind of expand and have partners that we can expand with as well. We do have some events coming up and some other kind of fundraiser ideas. And then we're also rolling out Racing for Heroes Radio on WVOX here in 1480 on the AM dial, and awesome. I think 91.3 on the FM. I forgot what the station code is for the FM side.
I know a guy that you could have on that knows a little bit about whiskey.
Oh, you know a guy. Like I know a guy. Well, you can come and tell about the EVOC.
Yeah, exactly.
Be amazing. So that starts, and we're going to interview veterans, and kind of like this, where you're really hearing people's like real story, what makes them tick. We want to interview everything from like our drivers, like Colin Garrett, who's both of his brothers are currently on active duty, but Colin is driving in the Xfinity Series, the Racing for Hero 26 Toyota Supra. So like super excited about that. And then interview folks like him. Interview some of our drivers. Kind of like Jimmy, who drives our drag car. So just exciting stuff like that. And we'll be interviewing like veterans, like I was saying. I think I was talking earlier with Ashley. Is that we'll have a chance to interview like people who like turned a wrench in the military, like they had to get the MRAP or the Humvee ready to go for the next day. What was that really like? How was your transition? What did that look like? Those kind of stories that
the stuff you see in the documentaries, not in the Hollywood films.
Yes, the stuff that the Navy SEALs got there some way. The helicopter flew them there. There was a guy that turned the wrench that made that happen. I know Mike probably rode horses into combat, so with the Green Berets. But
with that, I want to go off of. It's funny you're interviewing all these other people and veterans and whatnot. Your list of accolades are pretty impressive as well. How do you pronounce that one?
Meritorious?
Meritorious. I was going to throw me off a little bit. Defense Meritorious Service Medal, 3 Naval Commendation Medals, 3 Navy Achievement Medals, Unit and Service Awards. Your title of Lieutenant Commander is pretty badass.
Very kind.
As well. You are a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy for your master's
degree.
No.
A U.S. Naval War College.
U.S. Naval War College, excuse me. But even so, that for your master's degree.
Well, the regular Naval Academy guys would beat me up outside if I didn't correct it. So
okay. So who do we go for Navy and Army then?
Oh, you want the inside baseball on that?
No.
All right.
Step back and I curse. Sorry, guys.
All right. So this is gonna be amazing. So
total curveball.
No.
Back to my point.
Well, look, I am a naval officer, so obviously when Navy wins, that's great. But because I didn't go to the U.S. Naval Academy, if Navy loses, then I get to watch them mope around for a week. So like that, I think Schadenfreude is the term.
So that's the War College.
So it's always a win for me, and it's a win for America. I mean, listen, and that is just like the one of those events that on the battlefield of the football field, if you're on the gridiron, they're obviously fighting. But afterward, it's all about one team, one fight.
It's my favorite game. I absolutely love it. I always every year I'm like, I want to go this year, and I just don't know how to even get a ticket or how to go. But one year I'll go. Not
someday.
I'm not leaving my house for the next 5, so I know that. I only got a few more weeks. So if Army Navy wants to have a scrimmage for the next few weeks, I'll go to that one. Back to your accolades. Where was I? 2004 Naval War College Naval Intelligence Admiral White Kidd Award. 2004 Atlantic Fleet Taxation of the Year Award.
That was a good one. Yeah.
2003 Service Navy Association Arleigh Burke Award.
Yep.
Operational Excellence and 1994 Atlantic Fleet Ship Handler of the Year Award.
That I'm pretty proud of.
That
was a kid,
Those are amazing.
Yeah, that was fun.
Those are really big accolades for somebody. That's a hell of a lineup.
Yeah.
That
No, thanks. And I'm very. I try to be more humble with my military service and not talk about those things.
I'd have, obviously, you saw my quarantine cocktail shirt. I'd have all that on a t-shirt. Talk to me, I am, and all of those listed down. So please don't be humble. Show them off. Tell them you earned them.
Well, I have my like Ship Handler of the Year Award plaque on my boat on inside.
Excellent.
So
How do you get that?
Yeah, that was actually one of those kind of funny stories. So the way it worked was every ship sent an officer, usually junior officers. It was not really kind of senior guy thing. Sent a junior officer down, and then we had to take this vessel called a YP. It's like a yard patrol craft. It's like 150 feet long. Kind of, you can maneuver at two screws, that sort of thing. Propellers, for those of you who don't understand what I'm saying. So, screw up. Yeah, screwdriver. Yeah, it's a drink.
Milwaukee tool,
right? In Milwaukee tool. And then, so what had happened was, I was last to go, and the Commodore for Amphibious Group 2 was there, and he was the judge. And he was like this, of course I'm saying this, I mean, he was probably my age, but he was like this super old, salty sailor, and back when you could smoke cigarettes, he's up there smoking a cigarette. And I had to hold the bow against a buoy with a current. And I held it for like 20 minutes, and like it's a long time. And I finally turned him like, hey, sir, would it be okay if I like stop? He goes, yeah, I was amazed you could hold it this long. He's like, yeah, whenever you're done. So it was fun. It was fun. And
so did you win Top Gun for sailors? Is that what that means?
That's not, no, the operational excellence one really is, but I can't talk about the how I won that.
Excellent.
So yeah, that is one of those I can't talk about. So
that's pretty awesome. And what's more difficult, getting your master's degrees from the Naval War College or raising two teenagers?
Well, and maybe Captain Murray's listening tonight. He was the dean of students at the Naval War College.
Okay.
He had a T-shirt that said, "It's only a lot of reading if you do it."
That's pretty good.
So, but raising two teenagers is a daily excitement. So, and they're two little people.
Two excellent teenagers.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy. They're both lovely kids, and I try to let them tough love or let them. In fact, we were talking about sailing. I like to let them kind of fail sometimes and be like, yeah, it didn't go well, did it? But you learn from those kind of mistakes, and I think that's good for them as people. So,
And your second lieutenant commander in the Morash house, because Aileen is clearly
Lean's the admiral.
Yeah,
make no mistake. Listen, and I wouldn't be here without the steady hand of Aline, because a lot of my career, Aline was we're just at 23 years married, 16 of which I was on active duty. A year as girlfriend, which if you're a girlfriend of a military guy is not awesome. Aline can elaborate sometime. But she was there through thick and thin, and deployments and overseas, and being at the tip of the spear. And a lot of that time, they were little kids. So and then I retired in 2013. Henry was still at Webster Elementary. Julia was too. Yeah, she was in fifth grade. So they were little. So listen, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do or win any of that stuff without Aline. And they don't get medals. I mean, that's the sad thing. I mean, I think the military spouses always have that challenge. I mean, it's a challenge with transition for active duty guys. Spouses have a hard time. I mean, Aline's a school teacher, as you know, at Iona Prep, where Hank was also a teacher. But trying to have licensure when you're following your husband around the world is not easy to maintain those licenses. And anyone who has a license, like as a school teacher, knows like how hard that stuff is.
Absolutely.
To maintain it. So,
kudos. Holding down the fort in New York while you're out.
At the tip, right. Having a,
sometimes you can't even say where you are. So
no, yeah. And some days are better, some days are better than others, that's kind of the way it goes. So,
and how many vessels have you worked on?
So
how many ships have you been a part
So
of?
I was on 5 different Navy ships, and 2 merchant ships in my kind of adult career.
And what were their names?
So the merchant ships were Baltimore Trader and Patriot State, which was when I was a cadet. Baltimore Trader was like an old oil tanker. And then Harlan County tank landing ship. The USS Detroit, which was a ammunition oil tanker combination.
USS Detroit have an ammunition? Detroit, just kidding.
No.
Well,
we used to joke that the class is like Seattle and like Detroit, and we used to joke it was all named after blight-ridden cities. And, I get the captain hitting me like if I said that out loud, but I just did on. But and then I was on Barry. When I met Aline, I was on Detroit, and we got married when I got to Naval ROTC Holy Cross up in Worcester, Mass. And I was there for a little over 2 years, and then I was on the Barry, which was my absolute favorite ship.
What was your job description on that one?
So I started as weapons officer, and then what they call you fleet up, you become the combat systems officer. So I was in charge of all the weapon systems, electronics was kind of my thing. And that's a destroyer, like an Arleigh Burke destroyer.
So you're either the villain that the good guy's trying to go after from the movie, or you're the person the good guy's trying to protect and make sure the villain doesn't get to him.
In my version of the story, yes, I would agree with that.
Okay.
I loved that job. And
like, what do you oversee?
Well, obviously anything that's a weapon system, right? Or anything that like has a radar associated with it. But it was also other things like tactical stuff. Like we would do boarding operations off Somalia back, post 9/11, looking for terrorist-related shipping. Because we don't have a lot of entree into Somalia, as you would imagine. So we were boarding ships.
I saw Captain Phillips.
You did see yeah. So yeah, offline we'll talk about that movie. That's tough for me. That's a tough movie for me to watch. Because I've seen it from both sides. Because Merchant Marine and that, and then my dissertation is on Somali people.
Yes.
And so like it's for me like I like all 3 sides of that story. Like I totally get it. But no, that was What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so we were doing boarding operations off Somalia, and it was a lot of training with like young people to go over to these ships and then look for actionable stuff that we could go kind of the next step with, which was awesome. And then we had it was right after September 11th. Right after the coal got hit is when I became weapons officer. And then, but a little less than a year later, it was September 11th. It was interesting because the Navy in many ways had gone through sort of the wake up call that happened with the coal incident. So we had been very much prepared, I think, as an organization for some sort of terrorist incident. I mean, you couldn't have planned what happened. I mean, we couldn't have planned to that, but
you had your ears pinned.
Yeah, it was, and that was,
that's got to be a wild. I mean, everyone has wild stories over 9/11, but to be serving at that time too.
Yeah, it was
so far away from home and seeing home being.
Yeah, it was tough, it's also one of those like I saw the best in people that day. I mean, you saw folks that you never thought, like guys who you're like, that guy is a no load. And, suddenly like in this incident, they would step up and they were just there and present and ready to do what they had to do. And our ship was interesting because we'd had the propellers taken off earlier that week. So we couldn't get underway. So we were one of the few ships left in Norfolk, by the time nightfall had happened. Not to have a whole 9/11 story, but, for what it's worth, excuse me.
Yeah,
but and I'll tell you the funny story. So the funny story was, at the end of the night, I was just up in my stateroom and things had kind of calmed down. But where the ship was also on the flight path to the airfield for the naval base.
Okay.
And so we had, of course, remanding all of these 50 caliber machine guns around the ship. We didn't know what the next thing was going to be. Oh, you're a brave and powerful man. Thank you. I was going to ask, but
I already had it backed up. Not the first thing I serve you.
So Tommy, I'm lying down in bed and I had the radio in my chest. And I'm just like, give me 10 minutes. And all of a sudden I hear, Weps, it's aft machine gun. There's an airplane coming directly toward us. And of course it was some poor airliner that had been coming across the Atlantic, like a Navy bird.
Okay.
That was landing. And like this poor kid, like 18 years old, is on this 50 cal machine gun. And I'm like, don't do anything. Just hold fire. So of course I jumped in my boots, pulled the speed laces up and ran back. And then, but it's one of those ones that I think a lot of like the best Navy stories, the ones that in the moment, it was terrifying.
Oh, absolutely.
But afterward, it's like one of those, it's a funny story now.
Yeah,
so
I think that it's bad when I get a call on one of my accounts and get their order and it's a Friday. But getting the call, that's a pretty tough.
This airplane coming. Don't do anything. Yeah, it was a long day. It was I mean, of course, everyone has their 9/11 story,
And in all of your travels, what do you think is the coolest place that you've been and the coolest people that you have met, both serving and not serving?
Well, first of all, like and I think we talked about this earlier. Like I was stationed in this city and country called Djibouti, where Joint Task Force Horn of Africa was, and it was really austere. And I used to explain it this way: the Kenyan admiral would when I was down there briefing him on things, he would be like, "Hey, Brett, where's the base?" And I'd be, "Oh, sir, it's up in Djibouti," and he'd be like, "Oh, that's terrible." And I used to laugh because I'm like, man, if he's telling me where I live is terrible, man, like, it must be really bad. But I had some of the best people that I was stationed with, and they were reservists. They were active duty folks. I'm still like super friends with them today. Folks like Darcy Maloney, who now owns a sheep farm in Texas, or Frank Katz, who's retired on the Sound in North Carolina. Just guys and gals that just really kind of helped us all keep it together. And it was like, didn't matter what service they were in, everyone had the right attitude. And that made all the difference. And I love traveling. I have a bit of wanderlust, as you know. So I in fact, Mike was like, hey, driving down here, it's like 8 hours. I'm like, that's not a problem for me. Cause like, that's like an 8-hour concert featuring me on lead vocals and backup.
What's the first song you sing at karaoke?
What's the first song? Well, I do a lot of Tom Jones.
Okay.
So I do Tom Jones. In fact, I did a lot of that. I do Copacabana. I do that. That was pretty good.
What's the first song that embarrasses your family in karaoke?
Every one of them.
Okay.
Although I did sing backup vocals at the Lego store with Julia when she was young. They had like the little Lego, like they had it was like female oriented Legos, like they were pink and stuff like that, and they had like a karaoke machine. And I sang backup on Cyndi Lauper's song "Girls Want to Have Fun" with Julia. So it's kind of epic, I'm just saying,
Like
so I love karaoke. So
now, after all the cool stuff that you've done, what got you into? You've been doing stuff with veterans now for
over 7 years. Yeah.
So, and obviously, besides the ones so they deserve it, and veterans you take care of.
Yeah.
What led you to go there? What brought you to this line of work?
So my last tour in the Navy was up at the Naval War College, and I was on the faculty there. And in particular, I focused a lot on humanitarian assistance and disaster response. So like when Haiti had the earthquake, I went down. I ran one of the planning teams that did the medical side response. Loved it. Great. So I knew when I got out, like I wanted to serve again. And I didn't know anything. Like, that's the thing. Like, a lot of times veterans don't know anything. Like, I was a war fighter, and, like you said, like I have all these kind of military Navy things, and I know a lot about Somalia. So I'd be like an amazing pirate, but like, you can't do that. So like, you can't do that without getting arrested.
Never say never.
Never say never. I'd be an awesome pirate. It was like the Jimmy Buffett song, like, born 200 years too late. So when I was kind of like applying for jobs and I was kind of learning like what the civilian space was, I was fortunate because I was at the Naval War College. I was with a lot of folks who were on the civilian side that had been on active duty. So I just had great mentors that helped me with a glide slope out. It wasn't like I was in an infantry unit today and then on Monday morning I'm on civilian street. Yeah. Like, so like inshallah, like I was just really, God willing, like I lucked out. I knew we were going to retire here because, we had bought a house in New Rochelle and, so I knew I was going to get on the train. And at the time, like, I was like, I want a bagel with lox on it and a coffee, and I want to get on the train. And like, well, what do you want to do? Like, I don't know. Whatever I got to do at the back of the train. I just want to be the train with the bottle of like lox and the coffee.
And I want that classic New York cup, the Greek cup, from the Greek diner.
Yeah, the good stuff, right? Exactly. I wanted that, but I spun my wheels a lot. Like, actuary. Like, I love risk. Like, why wouldn't I want to be an actuary? And then like, no. Or like a janitor. Like, I could clean any Navy ship like amazingly. Like, but probably not what I should be doing. So I started looking at the social services space, and then again, just lightning strikes. I found this great job with Services Finished. I'm still very good friends with a lot of the folks from there. Running their division for homeless veteran services. And I didn't know anything about it. Like, I didn't know anything about it. Like, I'm willing to learn. And I think a lot of veterans kind of have that perspective. Like, there's nothing you can't teach me. I will work real hard to learn it. Like, it's my thing. And then, so I went and I helped homeless veterans. And let me tell you, when you have a buddy that shows up and he is, a guy you served with, this guy's name's Lucky. I won't say his last name, but his name was Lucky. Served with me on the Barry, during all these times I was telling you about, and he just fallen in hard times. It's really when you have friends like that you serve with, and you're like, now you're helping them, and not a hand out. I mean, a hand up, like hey, something happened. You ended up in the shelter system. Yeah, let's get you a job. Let's get you back to work. Let's get you back, to doing your thing, and then you act as a mentor for the next guy, to help them out. So that's how I started in the nonprofit space. And as you know, I've been working in nonprofits progressively, kind of going up in the world. And then, I was very fortunate. The folks at Racing for Heroes, they were looking for bringing on an executive director to kind of make the nonprofit faster, not to sound all Racing for Heroes, but like, make it all faster. Put a little wedge in. But I'm going to get in trouble when I go down there next week. They're going to give me a hard time. But
come back
like I'm gonna
New York. I'm fine.
No, I feel like Ricky Bobby. Like, what do I do with my hands? My drink.
Full circle.
Yeah, full circle. So anyway, yeah. So we're so this is for me. Like, I get catharsis working in the nonprofit space and helping people. It's what makes me tick. And I love the stories of like helping people just kind of get them like what they need so they can get ahead, and really have that kind of catharsis. So.
And it's obviously we know that these boys are out there and they're serving their country, they're doing their things, they're making things safe for us. But there's got to be a good and a bad part about being a veteran, because there's a lot of people that are looking out for them. There's a reason they're looking out for them. So what can we do better to take care of our veterans?
Well, I always like to say, like, when it comes to like the veteran space, and again, I mean, all of these are kind of personal stories, is at least give them a chance, like especially when it comes to employment, because I think a lot of times when and I worked in the housing sector, right? So the goal was to get them housed stably, and then help them get employment so that they could maintain the housing that they were stable in, right? Because if your head's not on a pillow that night, you're not worried about where your job's going to be. It's just kind of normal. So I think that the biggest thing is like, take a chance on someone. Like, if you have an opportunity to help a veteran, the discounts and stuff like that are amazing. Like, and they're great, but like, it's really about helping them get like a job. If you have a veteran that lives on your street, ask them what they did. And it's not one of the things that always, I always tell people is like, when you ask a veteran, like, oh, you served in the military, that's great. Thank you for your service, but ask them the next order question, which is like, hey, what'd you do in the military? And, most veterans will tell you, like, like me, like, I was a ship officer in the Navy, and kind of civilianize it, like surface warfare officer, like it's, I was a ship officer.
It reminds me of Bill Burr's kid. It's like, you're a little loose, what we call heroes. You're the guy on the ship going, the war is that way.
Right.
Go get him.
Right. Yeah. I fought my war with a coffee cup in one hand. Yeah. Bagel in the other. But one hand for the ship. Anyway, but that's what I really would ask people to do, right? Is and look for those programs that are around you that have those things. Like, so services units are, but like here in Westchester's Westcop is a good example. They have employment programs for veterans. If you have a job that like you're like, I want to take a shot on a veteran, call them up and say, hey, this is the job we have. If you have a veteran that kind of meets this, we'll give him an interview. And at least it'll help the guy get into the interview seat, and I think that really goes a long way. And then don't assume that all veterans have like profound mental health issues or something like that. That's the other thing too, is that, everyone,
the assumption of what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I will tell you, it was shocking to me once, when I was in my first job, I was talking to one of the spouses of someone in leadership, and she was like, "Oh, you're the veteran." I'm like, "Yeah, And she's like, "Oh, you must have PTSD." I'm like, "No, I don't think so." But I mean, everyone, and of course, you're kind of awkward because you're like, "Well, everyone has stress they deal with and things like that," and so it's tough.
Not a fun conversation.
Not a fun conversation. So use your inside voice, like that's helpful. And like I said, just and ask them what they did in the military, and kind of help that friendship. Anyway, so they'll probably tell you funny stories like I like to tell. So
absolutely. But yeah, it's got to be tough, and that's got to be borderline offensive as well. Oh, you served, so that means you have PTSD. Honestly, a good amount of people will have it, and it's very difficult.
Of course,
to do.
Yeah. Not everyone.
A lot of things in this country, just have a conversation, and talk to somebody, and be open-minded, and understand that not everything is the same as you read elsewhere. So.
Right, and appreciate those people's perspective.
Yeah,
you might not agree with it, but you have to let them vocalize it, and I think that's important as well. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what are you most looking forward to being with Racing for Heroes?
Oh, wait, what am I most looking? I mean, there's so many amazing things.
Yeah.
No, I like to, of course, break these. I was a military planner, as you know. I like to think these kind of things as like high strategic, operational. High strategic for me is helping Racing for Heroes become that kind of national brand, if you will, that has the veteran community that revolves around motorsports kind of under that umbrella, and thinking together as that kind of community. But in order to, and I'm always like, when it comes to mission statements, I'm always like an in order to guy, in order to enable like our programming that matters. And that's like chapters, because people have catharsis, but like if you have a chapter and everyone's kind of looking out for each other, you have a veteran that might be depressed, and then you notice it. I had a veteran I served with in Djibouti who, I kept calling him when he wasn't calling me, and just to do we call them buddy checks, but like doing a buddy check, and he didn't commit suicide. But it was because me and a couple other folks were doing buddy checks on him, and he came close. He came close at a railroad crossing down Jersey. And, when I think of those kind of stories, that's sort of like the operational kind of tactical level, right? Like the local chapter. So I think of these things like in my head, like as these kind of high strategic operational, and I guess quickly, the 2.0 version of this, but the 2.0 version is really led by some of the groundwork that has been laid already. And, there's people want to do this, and they want to do it in a way that's good and makes them feel great. And they're with their fellow veterans, and they're helping their fellow veterans and enabling those programs that we're able to do around the country to help veterans themselves. So
you've seen it firsthand. You know what can come, and obviously, worst case scenario is taking someone in their life, which is brutal and awful.
21 a day.
It's absurd, and we got to do a better job somehow. But you understand what the worst case scenario is. You also understand what helps, because you're not coming for me to go to somebody. What am I going to say?
Yeah.
It's like, I wasn't there. I don't know what you were doing, so you have seen it firsthand. You understand it. You get it. So you have the ownership to tell someone.
Yeah,
but also,
for sure.
you're on the other side of it, where you have that the Naval War School education, where you could break things down and strategize and get it from here. So we know we don't want to go here. We're on the direction to go here. We want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we turn the course to make sure that we get here?
Right.
And it's really cool. And then you have guys like myself and people that are people in the world that want to help and just only see that one direction. Yeah. So it's great.
Well, you just the Marines want to do the frontal assault. That's the...
No,
I was kidding. That's my Marine friend. Yeah. I'm gonna get beat up outside.
I love it. It's so funny. I love that the ribbing that goes on between the service members.
It's pretty tough. Well, usually for the Marines, you have to write it in crayon for them, but
it
was not Tommy.
That's why I drink my own.
Tough crowd. Yeah.
But no, it's cool. And events like what you're going to be doing for Racing for Heroes, your radio show that's going to be coming on up, the center that's out there in Virginia. These are the ways to bend that and to show people that there are others out there that care for them and that support them. And it's not just like, oh, glad to see you back home, and just walk away and never see them again. Whatever they get from the military, whatever it may be. But it's actually people that care. And it's a complete stranger could care enough and allow you to not make the hard decisions, because it's a tough world, especially right now with a global pandemic going on. So
it's not easy right now. Right. People are hurting right now.
Mental health is definitely one of the unspoken factors going on from everything going on in the world. It's very difficult to face society, and especially when you have those demons inside of you. Those really bad memories or whatever it may be. So it's really cool, man. And I can't wait to get to a Racing for Heroes event. I can't wait.
Well, you have. I don't know what's the big reveal in Tommyland. Well, the baby inbound. So you can't come You can't come to this event we have coming up. We'll have events later. So
yes, and that I look forward. I'm definitely getting to some. That's for sure. Not in the near future.
Right.
The clock is ticking. We are. I think what's today's date? 14th.
14th. Yeah.
Yeah, we're almost officially a month away from our due date. So we feel that she's coming early. So I say that we got 3 weeks, but we'll see. So
it's good military planning.
I learned something.
Right.
But yeah, it sounds like a super cool. How many people are working for Race for Heroes?
Well, I'm actually right now one of the only employees of the nonprofit side.
Okay.
Mostly everyone else who works for us are volunteers.
Amazing.
And they're doing stuff like helping veterans with counseling, and spending a little bit of time, to like help out, or they're like medical doctors, like Doc Camp, who listen to this, like, you think my bio is
Louis Silverio is waving hello to you.
Hey, Louis. He's on.
Hey, Louis. So I couldn't see,
waving at the floor. Hey, Louis. No, but like Doc Camp, like guy was a Green Beret, and when he got out, he went to he was a medic in the Green Berets.
Okay.
And he eventually went to med school and is now an ER doctor down in North Carolina. And like amazing people like that, like just people that they want to help their their other folks that serve in the military with them, and like that's the thing that makes them tick as well. So and harnessing that volunteerism in that kind of personal way when people are able to take like what they do for work and then make it work for us, because even like the folks that are helping us with gunning for Green Berets, like that ammunition, as you can imagine, doesn't grow on trees. It's not 22 long rifle. I mean, it's like real military grade weapons. The gentleman that's helping us with it, Eric Cruz, owns a company that makes ammunition for the military and some other.
Who's collecting the brass for him at the end of the day?
Henry. We're gonna make Henry. And Henry doesn't know. He's probably watching right now. He's gonna be sweeping with.
He's got a job for you, bud.
Yeah, right. Man. Someone's gonna clean the brass. Someone's gonna clean the brass.
Keep those good ones to the side.
Yeah, right.
Redo those. It's awesome. And so you gave a lot of good takeaways, but 3 takeaways that you want people to walk away from for veterans and for Racing for Heroes. What are the 3 takeaways that you want for people to take away from your message?
So one is support your veteran community locally and work locally, and if that
you
is
said that's West Pop or West
Cop,
West
happens to be a big operation here.
In Manhattan and Brooklyn.
Services for the Underserved was where I worked, and they're on Long Island as well. So both of them.
Services for the Underserved and West Cop.
And West Cop. Reach out to them if you have a job that you can help them. And as we're kind of coming out of COVID, and you need to relook at what your staffing looks like, reach out to them.
That's the perfect person to have behind your bar. Someone that has military experience. I'll take that all day.
Yeah.
A lot of people that left the city, and we got bars opening up left and right. So for those of you guys looking for help out there you go.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Kind of second thing, look for those volunteer opportunities for yourself. Like, is there an event coming up, like Veterans Day, and find out who the veterans are in your neighborhood. Just like I said, don't just thank them for their service, ask them what they did in the military. And like I said, most of them have an elevator speech, but it kind of breaks that ice. So, and then of course, third, Racing for Heroes. As you saw, we have tons of programs that we have. We're in the process of kind of redoing our website, but you'll see a lot of the things that we're doing right now. We're on social media. The radio show starts in a few weeks. So please tune in. It'll be on Friday at 11 to 11:30, starting September 11th is our first show. And we're going to try that out. So just kind of see what we're doing. If it's of interest to you, please reach out to me via our Facebook page or on our website with the info at Racing for Heroes, and I will reach right back out to you, and maybe we'll see where it goes.
And the same here for me, for anybody that's following on my side. If you want to get involved, you want to talk, please hit me up, let me know. I'll get you in touch with Brett. As some of you guys may know, Edrington is a charitable trust. So I am super, super proud of many things that allow me to work for who I work for, but that's definitely the number one. And we are able to do a lot of good for people. And I look forward to doing something for Racing for Heroes with that. That's and aside from brands.
Besides wine and whiskey, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, that's aside from all the brands. That's just we have the ability to choose our own personal charity and do some stuff with. So I look forward to trying to spread that good word, man. It's something Horses for Heroes is an amazing organization. And I was talking with the guys from Crate Club too, which we were planning on doing some really cool stuff. Unfortunately, COVID hit, and the stuff that we were planning on doing with them was going to be a little expensive. So we weren't able to, with the cash flow thing of the bars being closed.
It's a rebuilding year like the Mets.
Yeah.
Like, right.
And the Jets.
And the Jets.
Forever seasons. But
But this is it. That we're coming up.
I'm always down to do things to take care of the veterans and to.
Thanks, Tommy.
It really is some of the most important people that no matter where your political views are, if things hit the fan and we have to be protected, they're on the front line.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to have those type of people in there, and it's even more amazing that they're not being taken care of the way that they should be. Yeah. So we'd love to be on the forefront, on the front lines of that, and preaching the good word.
Thanks, Tommy.
People know that got to take care of these guys. So
thank you, Tommy. Good. So cheers.
Salute. But cheers, guys. I hope you enjoyed my chat with Brett.
Yep.
Brett You got all your plugs in, I believe.
We'll put the recipe for the EVOC on the website.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. I'll go ahead and I'll include that in the comment sections as well. And tune into. I think if you want to go on back, there was a great digital speakeasy tonight with Sari, chatting with some fine folks from Chicago. So definitely like the digital speakeasy, their YouTube page as well. It's some really cool stuff. I'll be on next week. Don't have my episode all locked in just yet, but
right.
It'll be the 21st, and we'll have some good stuff.
All right.
You'll get to find this on YouTube and on Facebook as well. Please like my YouTube stuff so I can do some more fun stuff and actually name it. That'll be cool. Giving to 100 guys to make me official. And we'll have some cool stuff coming on for the rest of the week. And anything to follow you on, Brett? Any for social media handles?
Yes.
Personal and for Racing for Heroes?
Yeah. So personals at B Morash, Twitter, and then Brett.Morash on LinkedIn. And we put media out there, and then Racing for Heroes. We have our own Facebook page. Twitter is also there too, and then like kind of the whole spectrum. So
awesome.
Yeah,
and get on out and support these guys, man. These events look so cool. I really can't wait to get out to one. I just really want to tailgate and watch cars go really fast and potentially shoot a few firearms with you and Henry.
Strap on an AK from the Chinese. Yeah, right.
Why not? It'll be a beautiful thing. But,
that's Kid Rock lyrics. So, yeah.
But cheers.
Okay.
Thank you so
cheers.
much.
Thank you, Tommy. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Till next time.